No, but you can pick it up. Take it out. Yeah, I can do that.
וכל מצדך אלה ברבבה מלך לא ייגש רק בעיניך תביט שולמת השם תראה כי אתה מה נעשה יום תמתנו לך תרונה לך ולך לא יקבול לך כי מלאכה תבלת מוכר חוד דרכיך עד כפיים יצא לך ותיקו בדרכיך ככה רופאת תתרות תרמות קבר ותנים ויחשבה פרטרסי קבר קרד השמי כהן ונמורכי וצרח על יצרוח ודאו אורך ימים מסעהו והמשעתי אורך ימים מסעהו קהל קדוש ונכבד, משפחה יקרה, התאספנו היום במקומות האחרון.
Or you gotta bend it. Or I can text it to Lila.
שאנחנו מלווים אותו בדרכו האחרונה, ציון דבר תבכה ובירושלים תיתן קולם על הסתלקותו של האבא הסבא, ואנחנו היום מלווים אותו לגנזי מרומים. אמר את הרעיון שזה יהיה לעילוי נשמתו בחיזוק לכולם, בעניין של דבר תורה. השבת שהיינו וקראנו פרשת בהר בחוקותיי. בהר בחוקותיי מוזכרות הרבה מצוות, ואחת המצוות החשובות זה לדאוג לחלשים, לדאוג לעניים, להסתכל גם כן על מישהו אחר, לא לדעת רק את עצמך. והיא נותנת לנו עוד דבר, מצווה חשובה, עניין של שנת השמיטה, שלנוח שנה אחת, שהאדמה תנוח שנה אחת ויעבור. ואומר, המבחן הגדול של היהודי זה מבחן של אמונה. כל יהודי ויהודי, כל אדם ואדם מתמודד בחיים האלו עם ניסיונות וכל מיני ניסיונות. אם אדם לא מושרש באמונה, יכול להתריס כלפי ריבונו של עולם. יכול להגיד לאלוהים, די. בפרשה הזאת למדנו שריבונו של עולם אומר 6 שנים האדמה יכול לעבוד אותה, בשנה השביעית תפתוש אותה. זה לא שלך, תשאיר אותה הפקר, אל תעבוד. אבל מה אני אעשה? ראינו עכשיו שהוציאו את האנשים לחל"ת לחודש ימים, איזה אנדרלמוסיה הייתה של העובדים. ופתאום אומרים לבן אדם לא חודש, שנה אתה לא עובד, שב בבית. ואני מבטיח לך, אני זה שנותן לך חיים, זה שאמר והיה העולם, תשמע יהודי, פה אני בוחן אותך במבחן שתבין שיש יד למעלה שמכוון את הכל. ואני מבטיח לך שבשנה השישית ובשנה השביעית תתברך האדמה שלך. אני, ששמענו, דיברו איתי, אתמול, לכן, שיגיע בתהליך, כוח התפקיד שלי. ואני אמרתי דבר אחד, אדמת ארץ ישראל יש בה כוח לכפר על כל דבר. אדמת ארץ ישראל היא קדושה, אין לה תחליף. ומה המיוחד בארץ ישראל? ומה המיוחד בעם היהודי? שבכל פינה שבעולם, יהודי ויהודי יראה אותך, יזהה אותך. יכיר אותך. אתה יהודי, אתה מישראל, ואנחנו גם כן מטיילים בכל העולם. אתה מישראל, אתה מפלוני, הוא יתעשה קצת, אז הוא עושה לך עוד צבא או מילואים, הוא מכיר אותך מהראשונה. אז בוודאי, שלמה, היום אתה בא לרגבי ארץ ישראל שנראו לך, באדמת ישראל שמחפרת, ובשעה הזאת יהיה מריץ יושר על בניך, בנותיך, על נכדיך וכל יצאך לצאך, משם לשמיים, תאמר לריבונו של עולם, די לצרותינו. אנחנו בצרה עולמית, מי האמין שכל היום אנחנו מכוסים בפנים, מפחדים לגוע אחד בשני, לא לבוא עם הנכדים הביתה, לא לבוא עם הילדים הביתה, להישאר לבד, זה גזרה. עכשיו, הוא, הכוח שלו, תגיד לריבונו של עולם די, וכל חשבונה טובה, תהיה נשמתו צורה וצרור החיים, אמן.
שלום לכולם, נחמה, אבי, צחי, דני ובנימינה. כל הכבוד לכם חשוב. לא בוחרתם את האבא שלכם, סיפורו כאן בארץ. הדוד סם. הדוד סם זה לא מושג מהסרטים, גם לא מהספרים. הדוד סם שלנו היה מהחיים. אותו דוד שכל שמחה היה מגיע, הוא בא, כשהייתי מתקשרת אליו היה אומר לי, אם תתקשרי אליי אישית, אבוא. ואכן עשה, בא לארץ לחתונות, הגיע ליום הולדת 80 של אבא, ואפילו לבר מצווה של איתמר ואלעד הגיע לשבוע ימים. הדוד סם אהב את החיים, ולכן תמיד כשהיינו מגיעים לניו יורק אמר, אני רוצה לקחת את המדע של הדברים הענקיים, למקומות מיוחדים שאומרים שהחיים יפים. אז היום אנחנו כאן, אמא אלונה וכל ילדיה ונכדיה, לומר לך תודה. תודה סם על המשפחתיות, ההומור, ובעיקר היכולת, לחבר בין ארצות הברית וישראל, בין קודש לחול, בין עולם דתי וחילוני. ולך נחמה שאת כמו אחות של אמא שלנו, ולכם אבי, צחי, דני ובנימינה, אתם לנו כאחים. תמיד נהיה פה כשתצטרכו. חיבוק חם, אוהבים אתכם מאוד, משפחת שטרום המורחבת. אני רוצה להזמין את ארנון אחי, לומר כמה מילים.
סם, להרבה אנשים פה היית אבא ודוד, לי היית חבר סם. אליך אפשר היה להתקשר בשקט, להתייעץ בארבע עיניים, לא לספר לאף אחד, רק אני ואתה. בגיל 17, עוד לפני הצבא, הגעתי לארצות הברית, נחמה הייתה בבנגלו, באת לקחת אותי הביתה, עם שוקי ופלג, עשית לנו סטייקים ענקים, קראת אותנו לביליארד במרתף, היית חבר, פשוט חבר. תמיד בדיחות, תמיד צחוקים, חבר, פשוט חבר. גם כשאבידו היו צריכים להתגייס, ואם בר השתחררה, באנו לכם הביתה, הבית שלכם תמיד היה בית של אנשים, בית פתוח, בית של חבר. זהו, מאוד תחסר לכולנו, חבר אמיתי, גם לרונית, גם לילדים, וגם לי. שיש לנו חבר.
אני רוצה להזמין את דני בנו סם.
There's something about this 107 degrees out that feels so right. I forgot the baby oil. Heroes come and go, but legends last forever. Ava, Saba Sam, Shlomo Ben Baruch Bendit Halevi is, was, and forever will be a legend. The lore and myths that follow those names in Kiddush clubs around the world make him greater than William Wallace, and his stories get told across all the lands, partly because he traveled most of those lands to spread his great tale. He is Saba Sam, the one and the only. As a child growing up, Abba was strong, sturdy, stubborn, unwavering, yet controlled. I remember being his trusted sidekick as he managed different projects around the house. And as his gopher, he had some very fond nicknames for me. One in particular that will have me monogram my own Land's End shirt with SFB. And despite all the, were your eyes open, your hands hurt, or I guess if you want the job done right, you do it yourself comments to me, I stuck by him. I took my lickings. But in the last 17, 18 months, I shared some of the responsibility to stick by his side once again. It was frightening to me to see the steady, balanced, and controlled Saba Sam gradually become unsteady, unbalanced, and relinquish all of the control. But he trained me for this, and I could not let him down. I tried not to miss many doctor's appointments while he was living in New York, always wanting to stay by his side. And the opportunity that Abba had given me over the period of time was life-altering. His trust and his faith in me, to see the belief he had in me and the way he trusted all of us with his care. And most importantly, the chance I was given to fulfill the mitzvah of Kibud Av, which I truly tried to do to the best of my ability. Abba, as I said to you on Monday night, I hope that I made you proud and that I can set an example for my children to learn how to properly and wholeheartedly fulfill this mitzvah. Aviva and I are so grateful that our children will have Saba Sam stories for the ages. There simply just isn't and never will be a Saba like you. And though your exterior may have seemed tough at times, we all saw right through you. Can't remember if it was the 65th or the 70th birthday when all the grandkids made a book for you. And when asked about you, the children's answers were things like, his favorite thing to do was to hit me with a newspaper. Or he always yelled at us to go to the basement. But really, we saw the light and love in his eyes when questioned about you. And we saw the pride and warmth that you felt when you watched your grandchildren play all together, and when you heard about or saw them succeed. It is so hard for Aviva and the kids not to be here and say hers and their goodbyes, but know that they will miss you and will make sure that Benny, Noah, and Carly keep your legacy alive. We had many memorable moments over the last year and a half, but none for me more memorable than the night I broke him out of rehab. He was sick and tired of the place, hadn't had a proper shower, because we know that to Abba, most ailments can be helped by go take a hot shower. And didn't want the meals they served, even though he specified a kosher meal, but no fish, no turkey, no chicken. I never eat roast. Try not to serve a Band-Aid in his gefilte fish, no green veggies, and no dairy. figure that one out. So we went to Holy Schnitzel together. The soup was too spicy because his taste buds just weren't the same anymore. In the past, he would take pride in spice, hot pepper powders from Africa, and showing off cans of inappropriately named spicy peanuts. That night, he couldn't take it. But from Holy Schnitzel, we went to Sheridan Avenue, and we lit Hanukkah candles. It was the 5th night of Hanukkah. And I watched him deep in thought, staring at the candles for 15 minutes, silent. He looked at those Hanukkah candles as if he can see something in them and transporting him to another place. And when he went up for that hot shower, I had some quiet time alone. I cried like I never cried before and never cried again until Monday night's goodbye. I listened to a podcast in which Ken Daniels says, I don't believe in luck. I believe in when preparation meets opportunity. Abba, you prepared us, and you provided us the opportunity. These challenging times gave each of your children the opportunity to step up and make a significant impact in caring for you. We worked as a unit and a team, and each of our strengths combined allowed us to enjoy your company for many, many more months than we ever expected. And even with getting you and us here in Israel to where we are now, one of the people who was most instrumental in getting you here kept saying, mazel, mazel, mazel. And some people call it mazel or luck. But you admitted to me this year and to others that there's only one being running this show. And you witnessed Yad Hashem in all of this. Hashem gave us many more memories, chagim and smachot with you. And Hashem put the right people in our lives to orchestrate what seemingly was a miracle to have you and all of us standing here today. Hashem is also the one who's taken you from us, but has brought you to reunite with your parents, Grandma Fradel and Grandpa Benny. And you finally get to meet your siblings for the first time. Your siblings who were stolen from us, and stolen from this world way too soon. Abba, you have and will forever impact our lives. I know that you will watch over us, and we will be certain that your legend will live on forever. We love you.
תודה, דני. אני רוצה להזמין את בנימינה בתו הצעירה.
Hello.
Ada,
Sedona aja gitu.
Shalom, ladies and Baruch Tadeh. Shalom means peace, and Baruch means blessing. My father, known as Sam, or Saba Sam, was definitely one kind of a guy. He was perceived as this big, strong, and intimidating Israeli. But for those of you still in question, my father was not Israeli. He was actually born in Germany right after the Holocaust. He was more like the big teddy bear that was so soft inside you could just squeeze him and hold him and hug him forever. He grew up as an only child where his siblings were taken from him, a twin brother and sister and another brother. And I always wondered to myself, what would he be like if he had brothers and siblings to grow up with? He wasn't the biggest social butterfly. Yet he loved his weekly Kiddush clubs, making his famous sea breeze, herring for special occasions, and his weekly card games. Abba didn't care what it cost or if he bought too much. He just wanted to enjoy the moment. He just wanted to enjoy watching people enjoy it. Before Shavuot, he would go to Crown Heights to pick up any and every cheesecake possible, Rogalach babkas that could feed 25 to 50 people. He would buy my mother and myself the most exotic flowers, birds of paradise, his most favorite. He enjoyed just seeing others smile and happy. Preparing for Kiddush Club started at 5 a.m. I kid you not. The table needed to be set perfectly. It needed to be full. It needed to look appetizing and inviting to anyone who walked into that door. That door was always open, and we never locked it. Abba would go to shul at 8 a.m. and he'd be back by 10. And when we were younger, Kiddush rotated and eventually landed in our home as a standard. And my mother would say, "Did you go to shul to collect people?" And he said, yes. It was just what he loved to do. He loved to have people, to be surrounded by other people, laughing, telling jokes, and just enjoying their time. Our front door was always open. And he really demonstrated the mitzvah of hachnasat orchim. And I think that is one of the greatest character traits that my brothers and I have all learned from him and Ima. Our home is your home. And while he fulfilled this mitzvah of hachnasat orchim, he was also a real Baal Tzedakah. My father used to work for Rabbi J.J. Hecht and became involved in the National Committee for Furtherance of Jewish Education. And he would take us to the dinners to show us what it means to give tzedakah, how helpful it could be to other people. Whether you have money or you don't have money, give. People would knock on the doors, give them money. I don't know who they are. They need money. Dany and I then took it upon ourselves to get involved with Toys for Hospitalized Children to make sure that these children would have what they needed, what they couldn't get while being sick in hospitals. He always said to me, "Why were you a teacher? You should have been a nurse." Abba was so looking forward to selling his business and retiring and just taking time to just enjoy, not waking up at 5 a.m, coming home by 3 o'clock to take naps. And when the doctors told us that he was sick, I felt like I was on a TV show. I could play the whole thing out. I saw the doctor, the nurse walking towards us just to tell us the news. And his answer was, "What you can do?" We were told he had this special gene, that he would be able to take these pills that could possibly help him. And he said, "I won the lottery. I won the lottery and the opportunity to continue to fight, to be with my family, to spend time with all of you. And whenever the doctor would say anything, that's what you tell me to do. That's what I'm going to do." We went from thinking that he wouldn't see last Pesach to being here a year and a half later. Pesach was the most important holiday for my father. It was more like everyone or no one. While it was difficult for him to go to shul, it never stopped his friends from coming over to see how he was feeling, to having a l'chaim at the house. And within this last year and a half, he has been able to attend graduations, bat mitzvahs, and even the most recent engagement of Miriam and Gabe. Back in New York, Dany and I lived around the corner from my parents until this past August when we moved to Florida. One of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. Moving away and not being able to know where he is, what he's doing, how is he? Do I have to run over to the house before work? Make sure he's okay. Make sure he has what he needs. Does he have his pills? Does he have his food? Is he stable enough to walk? Because that was one of the biggest side effects he had. How could I leave him? How could I leave my mother, my father? Thankfully, my butt buddy Donny was there to cover for me. Things were pretty quiet at times, but after some time, he needed to be put into a rehab to recover. and I flew back into New York to see him. I couldn't wait for that moment to touch him, to feel, to hold, to kiss. And when I left that room, I thought this was the last time I would ever see him. But no, Hashem gave us so much more than that. He was able to move down to Florida in January to live with me and my family, to be able to spend more times with my other brothers down in Florida, and everything was fine. He had the son, he had his family, he was happy, he was able to walk around. About a month ago, my brothers brought up the discussion about possibly having to move Abba to another house, give me a little break, and suddenly the separation anxiety kicked in just when the conversation came up. I couldn't let you go. I wouldn't let you out of my sight. I even told you I didn't want you to go, and you said to me, it will be okay. I don't want to burden you. You need time with your husband and your family. But he said, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere yet. About 2 weeks after that, which was 2.5 weeks ago, after you were hospitalized for 4 weeks, you said, I need to come home. This place is a ghost town. And we didn't want to be alone for the non-social butterfly. And we brought you home. That was our last Shabbos to spend with you in our home. And you were not. You knew you had to go to the hospital that Sunday. You knew you weren't feeling well and things weren't right. You held my hand and you let it go and said, thank you for everything. I never thought this would be the last time you would sleep in my home. That you wouldn't wake me up in the middle of the night knocking on the door. But due to Corona, I woke myself up every night that you were in the hospital. I would call you almost 3 times a day to FaceTime with you, even though you couldn't speak to me. I knew you were listening. You heard every word. I needed to see you. I needed to make sure you were okay. And not only were we blessed again, we were told we weren't allowed to be in the hospital to be with you. And they allowed us in. Not only once, but twice. We won the lottery this time. We won the lottery to be able to be with you when you needed us most and when we needed you the most. You waited for Donny to come. You waited and you knew that you needed all of us by your side like you've been by all of our sides all the years of our lives. These last 5 months with Abba living with us, getting to be with my children, filling his pillboxes, changing the meds, going to doctors. Middle of the night, random noises I hear from his room, talking to the remote control, saying, CBS? And I said, you know, you could just say CBS. It's the same thing. But he couldn't figure out the remote control. So we went around and around trying to teach him how to use the new remote control. But I'll never miss those. Ima, your constant worry for Abba never went unnoticed. Although it was hard for you to physically help him when he would fall or be taken to the hospital, you always cheered him on and you always encouraged him to keep fighting and to keep going and to take your pills and it'll be okay. You always tried to make sure he ate his favorite foods like roast, which apparently he never ate, and the potato salad on the side. So although he said that something was wrong with everything that he ate, it was absolutely delicious. Avi, Judy, Tsachi, and Jess, and all of the kids, thank you so much for coming over to visit Abba all the time, for offering to help me. And Abba was so lucky to have spent these last few months down here with you and your families. Aviva, thank you for always checking in on me and encouraging me to stay strong. Donny, where would I be without you? We would call and text each other at all hours of the day. When I lived back in New York, I would let you know if something was wrong. Emergency, no emergency, we flew right over to New Jersey. You could not be there. We split the jobs, other tasks between all of our siblings. Abba needed us, and none of us gave up on him. I want you to know that Abba did wait for you. And he waited for you because of your patience, love, and compassion. And that time that you helped him in rehab when I wasn't there to help you. You even got to cancel about 10 to 15 subscriptions that no one knew you had. Ronen, Liel, and Eden, you have no idea how lucky you are to have spent so much time with Saba Sam. You helped him live longer and smile. Ronen, you even got to hear him laugh. And when you did, it was really funny. You got him his yogurts, you put his pills into his applesauce, took walks with him, and he may even yell at you sometimes or hit you with a newspaper. You still knew that he loved you. Lastly, I want to thank Dany for continuing the mitzvah my father did very well of Haknasat Orchim, of Bikur Cholim, and Kibud Avaim. Abba was your father-in-law, and you treated him like a father. You didn't think twice when we discussed when he was going to come and live with us. You helped Abba, whether he needed help in the shower, the bathroom, getting his favorite foods, or even taking walks with him and having private conversations. He loves showing you how to become more handsy around the house, and boy, am I happy he did. And you both worked so well with each other. You helped keep Abba busy around the house, cutting trees down, putting up hooks by the pool, and I want you to know that he loved you very much. Abba, I never thought this day would come. I honestly always felt that you would just live forever, and this day would just never happen. I'm going to miss hearing your voice, your whistles, your cut it outs, playing sheshbesh, and even calling you when I pull off another slick move. And you'd laugh with excitement. You were my rock, my soundboard, my hero, and my best friend. I don't know how I'm going to get through this without you, but I want you to know that you were never a burden on me. You were my everything, and I will never forget the bond that we shared together. Your little Benjamina that you spoiled rotten, your little princess. My hero can fly to Hashem and protect us and watch over us. I love you.
אני רוצה להזמין את אביק, בנו הבכור.
סבבה. יבוא. תודה.
Apparently, because I'm the Bechor, and I had him the longest, I have the most to say. And before I speak, I did have two speeches that were printed by my oldest two children, I guess Saba Sam's oldest two grandchildren. I'm first going to read something from Miriam, and then I'm going to read from Viola. And I know that everybody that's watching us on Zoom and the family, they all wish that they could be here in person. We really appreciate everybody who's logging in right now. When I think about Saba Sam, Miriam says, the first things that come to me and come to my head are pistachios, baby oil, and whitefish salad. Every time I came to Staten Island, I could almost guarantee that there would be whitefish salad in the fridge and a giant Costco-sized bag of pistachios in the cabinet. If I close my eyes, I can picture so clearly Saba Sam laying outside in our backyard in his gufiya, covered in baby oil. I also think about his famous grilled cheese and even more famous herring. I think about how for some reason he loved Chinese food and always made racist jokes whenever we ate it. I think about his silly jokes and his sense of humor. I think about how he only recently started referring to Gabe by his name and not as Guy. I think about his convertible with Saba Sam on the license plate. One of my favorite memories of Saba Sam is from years ago when I was probably around 10 years old. It was right after Pesach, and Saba Sam took Leora and me to Carvel for a post-Pesach chametz treat. On our way there, I remember so clearly zooming down the streets in his convertible with the top down, laughing so hard it hurt.
I think about how last summer when I lived in Staten Island for a month, taking a summer class, even though he was sick, every single morning without fail, he would tell me to have a good day in school. I think about the time when he took me, Bim, and Sheila to a steakhouse in Brooklyn on a random weeknight. I think about how he was the best host, always hosting kiddushes at his house and making sure everyone had what they wanted to eat or drink. I think about the annual tradition of giving his grandchildren money on Pesach. I think about how Saba Sam always putting everyone else's needs before his own. I think about how he was caring, kind, and thoughtful. Every time Saba Sam bullied Safti or yelled, "Wife!" from across the room, Safti always said to me, "Make sure you don't end up with someone like Saba Sam." Safti, I love you, but you're wrong. Maybe with Safti, he was a little mean, but to everyone else, Saba Sam was the best. I love you, Saba Sam. This one's from Leora. Saba Sam was the best grandfather I could have ever asked for. He always made sure that all his grandchildren were happy, even though we were usually sent to the basement for making too much noise. I remember every Pesach in Staten Island when Saba Sam was in charge of hiding the Afikomen. I would watch him like a hawk, but somehow he would manage to hide it behind paintings or in his sheshbesh set when we weren't looking. I also remember every single time that Saba Sam would come visit us in Florida. He would always make fun of me for being so pale and offer me his bottle of baby oil to tan myself just like him. I never did though. That was just for Saba Sam. For so many months, Saba Sam had asked me to paint him a picture of Yerushalayim, and it wasn't until Corona started when I was finally able to work on it. And thank Hashem I did. Even though it wasn't yet framed or completed to perfection, the look on Saba Sam's face when he saw the finished painting, the huge smile he had across his face, made it all worth it. I miss you, Saba Sam, and I love you. Speaking third at a funeral with 4 children, oftentimes there's going to be many things that are repeated, and I guess in cases like this, if it's being repeated, then it was most likely true. Abba, Shlomo Halevi ben Baruch Bendit, was born a man of contradictions. Abba was a Holocaust survivor, yet he was born after the war. He was the youngest of 4 children, yet he grew up an only child. Abba was not necessarily a people person, but if you were lucky enough to be counted as one of his people, he would do anything for you. He was not Israeli, yet if you ask most people, Abba was more Israeli than Ima was. I still think it's because of the years and years that he walked around wearing sandalim with socks. When it came to tradition, Abba wouldn't always go to shul on a Friday night, but he always made sure that the boys always went. Tsachi probably remembers Abba's methods of persuasion a little bit better than I do. Abba was by no means a showy person. Okay, maybe he did love convertibles, but I don't remember him ever spending too much on clothes or his own possessions. Yet when it came to tzedakah, whether it was to the National Council or any meshulach that came to the door, Abba always greeted them with open arms, and sometimes to Ima's dismay, with an open wallet. And when it came to family, Abba would often say that family is the most important thing in the world. Yet on occasion, if he couldn't be with all of the family, then he wouldn't be with any of the family. And marriage, Abba and Ima recently celebrated 50 years of marriage. And even though there were times when none of us knew who was the Ezer and who was the Kenegdo, Abba and Ima had a special strong bond that went above and beyond numerous obstacles, including health issues, dogs, separate vacations, and even restraining orders. When someone thinks of Abba, of Sam Baitner, they picture a strong physical presence. And even though this recent illness took away some of that physicality, he always remained the solid head of the household. But all the ways to think of Abba, his strength, sometimes his stubbornness, always his friendship and his loyalty, I think the way that he will be remembered most is as Saba Sam. And not just because that's what his license plate said. Abba was everyone's Saba Sam. His children called him that. His grandchildren certainly called him that. So did his nephews, nieces, grandnephews, and even some of my friends knew him as Saba Sam. Abba was proud of each of his children and grandchildren, each with their own unique personality. He loved when the family was all together. He loved lining up the grandkids on Hanukkah and on Pesach and handing out the G-Frogs. And yes, after a few minutes, he also asked all the kids to go down to the basement. Yesterday morning, when Matan, or Mo, as Abba liked to call him, first woke up, he came to me with tears in his eyes and gave me a huge hug. And when I asked Matan why he was crying, he said, "I don't know." Well, Matan, Mo, we know why. It's because Saba Sam is gone. But the lessons he taught us will never be gone. We will continue to live lives where family and friendship come before everything else. A life where opening your heart and wallet to tzedakah comes before material possessions. A life where the importance of Chagim and of Eretz Yisrael are central to our existence. Ima, your relationship with Abba has often been a challenging one, but I think that this was a symbiotic relationship. Abba needed you as much as you needed him. And in the last number of years, the physical needs of Abba became much more challenging. But know now that you are not alone. You have a network of family and friends that are always here for you. Tsachi, Dany, and Bim. He loved each of us and our children in his own unique way. Each of you helped tremendously over the last 18 months. From insurance issues and ensuring that Abba and Ima would be sustained financially, to numerous doctor visits and appointment shuttling back and forth to the city, to the day-to-day care of managing his health, his simple needs of getting dressed, of eating, to keeping him smiling with a sense of humor. These are all debts that can never be repaid, and examples of Kibud Av that can be modeled for our children and for their children. To Sheila, who we know wants to be here, Abba's one sister-in-law. You really are like a sister to both Abba and Ima. Not just the person to go to the cancer center so they could use the express lanes, but always the calming voice during these visits. Always asking the appropriate questions, oftentimes acting as referee, but always being there for the two of them. Not having you here with us during these past few months has been particularly challenging for Abba and for Ima, and I'm sure for you. Jessica, Aviva, and Dany, you have been the children that helped keep everything stable. While the biological kids were oftentimes preoccupied with Abba and his fights, you guys were the ones holding down each and every fort, and Abba loved you all. To Judy, my Aisha Kyle, I honestly don't know how you do it all. Abba confided in you things that I don't think we'll ever know. When he stayed in our home, you showed him a home filled with honor and with love. You literally picked him up when he was down, and each of our kids saw the way that you showed him the honor he deserves, with love and with humility. And to all of the grandchildren, Miriam, Leora, Adira, Matan, Zeke, Julia, Stella, Lucy, Benny, Noah, Carly, Ronen, Liel, and Eden. You were the reason for Saba Sam's existence. You were the reason he woke up every day, the reason for his every smile, and the reason that he found the strength to fight this terrible disease. Miriam, you were his first. You were the pioneer that helped create the Saba Sam brand. He was so proud of all of your accomplishments. We know that it will be difficult not having him physically at your upcoming wedding to Gabe. But just know that he loved you both very much and will be joining us, Bezrat Hashem, soon under your chuppah. Leora, your smile, sense of humor, and art always brought Saba Sam joy. It was wonderful that your last project for him was a painting of Eretz Yisrael, which is now going to be his final resting place. Adira, Saba Sam always loved the sparkle in your beautiful eyes. I hope you appreciate how just a few months ago, Saba Sam was able to participate in your bat mitzvah celebrations. Besides Pesach, family simcha was really the highlight of Abba's years. And seeing him laughing, dancing, and even mixing up some sea breezes are memories we'll never forget. And Matan Mo, Saba Sam loved you so much. He loved watching you grow into this wonderful, energetic boy filled with laughter. He loved playing games with you, and I hope that you will continue to learn from Saba Sam's many life lessons. And finally, I would like to thank the helpers. The family friends that dropped anything to give a hand. To the doctors in New York, in Florida, and all the close position friends that went way beyond their call of duty to get us through this very challenging time. Abba, Saba Sam, life without you will never be the same. Pesach will never be the same. The Yamim Noraim will never be the same. Family smachot will never be the same. But I promise to try and keep your energy going forever. To always place family above all else. And to often place the needs of others ahead of our own needs. We will miss you in your presence every day. Today I say goodbye only to Abba's physical body, but know that the spirit of Saba Sam will live with all of us forever. I love you, Abba.
אחרון חביב, צחי.
Bookends. My father came into this world in August of 1946 in a displaced persons camp in Germany. His parents, Dany and Natalie Baitner, whose 3 children were killed in the Holocaust, survived, and somehow still had the emunah to put my father on this planet at undoubtedly the craziest time the world had ever seen. And now, he leaves this world in another crazy time, during this coronavirus pandemic. Bookends of sorts, symmetrical, for a man who was anything but symmetrical. There's so much we could say about the man Abba was. A man of his word to a fault. If he said something, he stuck to it. An action, a stubborn ox of the highest order. A mashugana, as his mother-in-law, my grandmother, would call him. But for all his stubbornness, his mishigas, and toughness behind huge muscles, there stood an emotional man who had 2 true joys in life. The first, Benjamina said, was the simple joy of watching other people enjoy themselves. The second was his family. Whether it was pouring sea breeze for anyone who would try it, and I mean anyone, no ID required, to making his famous herring, or being in charge of the grill for years at all of those jet games, he loved being at the center of people's enjoyment. Ironically, he didn't drink the sea breeze. He didn't even like his famous herring, and rarely ate at those jet games. He simply loved serving others and watching them enjoy themselves. If you've ever been to any party or kiddush that Saba Sam threw, you knew exactly what I'm talking about. It wasn't because he was showing off. It was because he thought his friends and family would enjoy themselves more because of it. If one of his ideas got under my mother's skin, that was a bonus. If you need an example, look no further than my bar mitzvah. Unbeknownst to my mother, he ordered a petting zoo for all to enjoy as he entered the steps of the banquet hall. It was Parshat Noah. Of course, that's what he did. He just liked to make people's days better. He was strong and was great with his hands. I clearly didn't get those genes. And he put them to great use. He was a great friend. He helped people all around the neighborhood fix things in their houses. If you asked Sam Baitner for a favor, he did it. I never expected anything in return. He, along with some of his friends, built much of the Young Israel of Staten Island that stands where it is today. He was a man of chesed and helped people with gusto. If that chesed benefited a Lubavitcher or a cause that they asked him to get involved in, he ran twice as fast. While a man who ran to do chesed,
Like Abraham, Abba's greatest attribute was his hachmasat orchim. Our home was an open tent, always welcoming people for a drink, a schmooze, or a friendly game of poker. He was a giver. That grandmother, his mother-in-law, who called him a mashugana, was actually buried right over there, actually said, "He's a mashugana, but he takes such good care of me." That was my father. My father, the Israeli. For anyone that knew my father, they assumed he was Israeli. He spoke Hebrew like one of the locals, ate sunflower seeds, played sheshbesh, wore sandalim, an unbuttoned plaid short sleeve shirt with a kufiya underneath, a gold chain around his neck, sunglasses in his hair, and for some reason he was always tan. If he wasn't an Egged bus driver, I don't know who was. He had a true love for Israel. He spent time in the kibbutz during his first trip when he was only 18 and instantly fell in love with the land. Over the years, he came for a month or longer in the summer, and my guess is that he'd been to Israel 30 times in his life. It's only fitting that this is his final resting place, and I am beyond proud, knowing that we pulled off a miracle, getting him here and being at his side. My father's only time flying in a private jet. If he knew that the one time he flew private would be to take him to his final resting place in the land that he loved, I think he'd have been just fine with that. Kohelet says, Tov Shem Mishem Tov. A good name is better than having good oil or wealth. My father didn't have much material wealth. He worked incredibly hard to put food on our table, struggled to put us through private yeshiva, and along with our mother, gave us a childhood that felt like we were no less privileged than the other kids around us. His wealth was in his family. He took such pride in each of our accomplishments. Avi's academic excellence and career made him so proud. He was fine with the rest of us, but with Avi, he already solidified his legacy. Abba and I didn't see eye to eye for the first 18 years of my life. And I actually think that my behavior for those first 18 years had as much to do with reducing his life expectancy as cancer did. We turned that corner, and we more than made up for it over the last 25 years. The highlight being my trip with him to Vegas for my 21st birthday. He and I walked the strip and sat at the $5 table for 3 straight days. 3 days that I will never forget. My father wasn't much of a singer at all, but boy did he love listening to Avi and Donny sing. His permanently tanned face would literally glow with pride as they lit up the room with their sweet voices. This past Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, he didn't feel great, but he sat there, smiling through the pain, filled with pride, as his boys led the tefillah one last time in front of him for our entire community. Binyamina didn't have to do much to gain his love. She just had to be. After 3 boys, his little girl stole his heart, and for the last 36 years, they were inseparable. Then came the grandkids, Miriam first, then Leora, then Zeke. All in all, 14 grandchildren who adored him and who each shared a unique relationship with him. Saba Sam. The name stuck, and everyone in the family and all of our friends simply called him that, Saba Sam. He played sheshbesh with some, went to jet games or fishing with others, and despite his sometimes lack of patience, the kids were drawn to him. They rallied around him and just wanted to be near him. A note to Binyamina. You took on the monumental task of caregiver to our father. Yes, you lived the closest, and perhaps it was something any daughter would do, but you rose to the occasion, including having him live in your house in Florida for the last 5 months of his life. May the kavod you showed our father merit you Hashem's endless blessings. I will never forget the selflessness you showed to Abba, and for that I will be forever indebted to you. While I'm on the topic of thank yous, there are a few people that I want to thank. To my Aunt Sheila, you're a masochist and a saint that knows no bounds. Your love for our family and devotion to Ima and Abba thrust you into the middle of the drama that was the Nat and Sam show. And despite that drama, you never left their side. You went to every single doctor's appointment, spent endless hours with them, and never stopped listening or doing. A better sister-in-law on the planet you will not find. Thank you, and we love you. Speaking of Ima, I know it wasn't easy. We all know it wasn't easy. You should be at peace knowing that you stood by Abba for 50 years. That's an incredible accomplishment for any couple. I'm so very happy that we were able to celebrate your 50th anniversary at our house just 2 months ago. The next chapter will be an interesting one, no doubt. Abba will be happy that you will be happy in the bungalow and Century Village. He'll also be happy that he's never going to be asked to go to those places ever again. To the doctors that took his 1 in a million cancer and found the 1 in a million treatment, thank you. To Dr. Sherman, whose wisdom got us a bonus year plus, thank you. My dear friend Michael S. Riker, who took special care of Abba when he went to the ER several times in Florida, thank you. There was never an hour that your phone was off limits, and you made way too many house calls. Most importantly, you single-handedly got us in to be with our Father during his last hours, a chesed that can never be repaid. There were so many doctors, from Dr. Sherman in New York to Dr. Gilbert and Dr. Markovich in Florida, who went above and beyond for our Father. Thank you. Donny, you were Abba's only son in the Northeast, and you took on the task of all 3 sons. You never missed a doctor's appointment, running back and forth to Staten Island, listening to Ima, all while putting your needs second. Thank you. Thank you to our friends, family, and communities that have been at our side since the beginning. Your love and support is everything. Today, the Baitner name is synonymous with great community people, great chazanim, great teachers, just great people. Whenever my friend Robert would see Abba, he would say, I don't know what you did or how you did it, but boy, are you lucky. I like to joke that some people's Yerusha is a trust fund, and that mine is a herring recipe. In truth, from my father, I inherited the joy of simply watching other people enjoy. I love hosting events. I love having an open door in our home with Jessica. Each and every day, my goal, my why, is to try to spread happiness so that everyone's day is better any way that I can. It took me a long time to read it, but that is my true Yerusha. Abba, I love you. I miss you already, and hope and pray that we continue to make you proud and carry your shame tov for generations to come.
צדק לפניו יהלך ויעשה דרך פעמם פעם שמע ואנחנו נלמדנו. לא עוד שוד בשביל כביסה, קריה במעלה לנומר. תסתכל בזיין את דני, ואדם שורף ומעתה עתיד לדבון. מה אין ואתם? עתו מקום הפרנות ומעתה עתיד לדבון פנים בהם לכם הקדות יוצאו. עד שתמיבורו ככל המשפט. אל אמונה בינה וצדיק ושרות. כל העצר הנוריח שאנחנו בתוכו מאדם, לתת לשכלאי ומעלה לה והגיד הגיע עכשיו אולי, צורי כבר נתבו, אדוני נתן, ישם רבו עומר והראשי, ובראשי הבולת, רבו עומר והראשי, ובראשי הבולת. אמן, יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם.
Barak, Shabbat, Vitar, Vitraman, Vitase, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitala, Shmed, Vishad, Ritu.
Amen.
Laela, Mikol, Bechata, Vishirata, Tushukata, Mechmata, Damiram, Be'arat, Bimnu, Amen.
Amen.
Yehi, Shama, Rala, Mishmai, V'chaim, Tovim, Aleinu, V'achol Yisrael, Bimnu, Amen. Seh, Shalom, Bimnu, Kuya, Seh, Shalom, Aleinu, V'achol Yisrael, Bimnu, Amen.
דיין, האמת. אנחנו מתחילים את מסע ההלוויה להחזרת הקבר. בבקשה, 4 גברים פה ליד המיטה. בואו איתי, בואו גברים, בואו, תעסיקו פה.
60?
בואו, אפשר, בואו. כאן. יושב בסתר עליון בצל צדע את עונן. אמר אדוני מחתים תורת יציאת שולחן מפעיתו.
If you've not had the opportunity to do so yet, please use the chat area, the virtual guest book, include your message, and please include your names.
אמר אדוני מעשי וצואתי כי יצילך מפעיתו. וכאשר תחת כלך תהשב סינה ושחרר אמיתו. מכירה מפחד לילה מחיתה ומעמיד דרך אוכל לעלות. וכן תהשב תורה מכל מצדך יהיה לפרבמה מנחם ויגש. עקבין אחת תגיד ששלים התקרן צירן. ואתה אדוני מחסיר ואותם כמונך. ופורני לך עבד את הלשם ומונך. ומלאכה תראה סמוך על חוד ערכך. עד הפעם ראשונך בן תיקו בן תורתנו קבל, שמע צעקותינו, יודע אתה לא מותרים אותה מצד תבוא עוד אחד, לא, תסתובבו, תבואו עם הראש אליי.
מי שהגיש לי את המיטה, זה היה להכיר את זה, תגישו לי, לא להכיר. עוד איתי, לאט לאט, עוד קצת, עוד קצת, עוד קצת. תתחילו להוריד עליו. בסדר. להוריד. לא. תניע.
הנה מיתתו של שלמה 60 גיבורי ישראל ולא מגיבורי ישראל. גם אחוז החרב מלומדי מלחמה. הנה מיתתו של שלמה 60 גיבורי ישראל ולא מגיבורי ישראל. הנה מיתתו של שלמה 60 גיבורי ישראל ולא מגיבורי ישראל. גם אחוז החרב מלומדי מלחמה. הנה מיתתו של שלמה 60 גיבורי ישראל ולא מגיבורי ישראל. כולם אחוז החרב מלומדי מלחמה. חרבו לכו מפחד בלילות. בבקשה, יכולים להשתתף במצווה כל אחד קצת.
שעתה את כל העניין. לא, זה לא טוב. Donny. Amen.
Son of Yom Echon of Sayyid Chalveit Yisrael, Ba'alav Izman Karibim Ramen. Hey, Shmira Mamalurach, Lamamel Maya, Yitalach, Vishabach, Vitor, Vitorman, Vitnasei, Vitadar, Vitalev, Vitalach, Shmet Kuchav, Rizul, Leilami, Kabrachata, Vishirata, Tushkata, Nachmata, Damiram, Yalmam, Ramen.
Amen. עשה שלום.
עשה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, אמיצים מנוחה נכונה כפה שכינה, במעלות יצירשים ותרים ותרוקי המדירים, את נשמת הבעל האבא הסבא יקר. שלמה, לוי, לוי מומי. ברוך בן שהלך לעולמו, בעבור שכל הציבור התפלל בעד הזכרת מותו. לכן בעל הרחמים יעצר ובסרק נפל לעולמים, ויצור ובצור החיים את נשמתו, וגן עדן יקיים מנוחתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן. שלום עליך. הלוי, בשם המועצה הדתית, בשם החברת קדישה, בשם החברים שהתעסקו בך, בשם משפחתך וידידיך, כולנו מבקשים ממך מחילה וסליחה וכפרה. אם חס ושלום פגמנו איזה דבר בטהרה, בנשיאת המיטה, בתיקון הקבר, סלח לנו כשגגאי. כל מה שעשינו היה לכבודך כמנהג המקום. לך בשלום ותנוח על משכבך בשלום, ותעמוד לגורלך לקץ הימים, ויהיה מליץ טוב בעד משפחתך, בעד ידידיך, בעד רעייתך, ועל כלל עם ישראל. תהיה נשמתך צורה בצור החיים, אמן. תם מסע הלוויה, אפשר להניח אבן ביד שמאל שלכם.